welcome or welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah. I like to talk about books down here in my basement, and this is Friday Reads for the last Friday of March. I had a weird reading month this past month. Yes, but a weird reading week this past week, it feels like. I'm not entirely sure why, but it does. So there's that for what it's worth. I did read 2 audiobooks. Maybe that's why it feels weird. I do a thing with audiobooks where I will get in the mood for an audiobook and then I will binge read like 3 or 4, and then I won't read an audiobook for months. This seems to be where I'm at right now. I'm reading audiobooks. The first thing, ow, what happened? The first thing I finished on audio was Belladonna. I mentioned this last week that I was almost done with it, and I did in fact finish it. I really liked this. I enjoyed it a lot. I know it's kind of divisive. Not everybody likes it, but it was a little melodramatic, it was gothic, it was a little slow in places, but I liked it. It had some really spooky moments too, which was nice. It was just, I guess a nice like brain refresh, I suppose. I have been reading a lot of denser things perhaps, or I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I can't explain it. But I did like it. I liked it a lot. I will definitely continue. I have the second book, the audio, on hold through my library, and I will pick that up when it comes in. Hopefully, fingers crossed, because I do own the second book and I would like to read it. So yeah, I liked that for what it's worth. Now everything else I read, nope, that is a lie and a half. Let me get the other physical book that I read. I didn't actually record everything in my reading journal this week. Another way in which it has been weird. So like I'm having to check my phone because I do automatically put things on my read list on my phone. So that is a little weird for me, but okay. I did read a manga and a graphic novel. So I read Clean Sweep, again one that I mentioned last week. This is the first volume of the first Innkeeper Chronicles book, but it has been turned into a graphic novel. This is like maybe halfway through the story. I couldn't tell you for sure. I feel like perhaps it's halfway. And I liked it a lot. There was some changes. I feel like I don't remember things that happened in here happening in the story, but again, it's been so long, I could totally be making that up, and I enjoyed it. The art style is not my absolute favorite. It's a bit stiff. It doesn't have the flow that I normally like in my art, but the colors are pretty, and I do love the story and the banter and stuff. Alona Andrews is one of my favorite author duos, so I enjoyed this. I knew I would. We're just getting to it. So I really liked this. If you like Ilona Andrews, if you like the Innkeeper Chronicles, you'll probably enjoy this. I do not know if I would recommend this for someone who hasn't read the book. I will say that. It has the problem that I think sometimes adaptations have, where we do not get a very clear explanation early enough so that a fresh reader will enjoy it. We find out everything, like an explanation for most things, like halfway through and towards the end, but it kind of just throws you in there. And I know a lot of people don't like to just be thrown into books or in settings, especially fantasy ones. So I'm not sure if I would recommend this for like a fresh reader who has not tried the Innkeeper Chronicles. But if you are a fan and you haven't read them in a long time, like myself, this is a very fun read. I did really enjoy it. Again, not my favorite artwork, but not bad. The manga that I read was Dinosaur Sanctuary Volume 6, which I loved. I love and adore this manga. This series is so chill, but also fun and interesting at the same time. This is the story and art is by Itaru Kinoshita, and there is a research consultant who works at a university in dinosaur. I don't know if he's a paleontologist or a biologist that specializes in dinosaur. What exactly his credentials are, but he does do essays at the end of almost every chapter, where he talks about, right here's one, where he talks about things that he helped to advise on. He talks with the artist and author about choices they've made, how they have changed something to fit better in the manga, but is actually biologically or, historically inaccurate, that sort of stuff. And it's super fascinating to me. I really love it. I also absolutely, speaking of artwork, adore the way the artist draws the dinosaurs in this. Absolutely adore it. we get like baby dinosaurs, which is something I love a lot. I am just, hope you can see that. I'm just a big dinosaur person. I've always loved dinosaurs. I still need to get a dinosaur tattoo. I want one. I just don't know what I'm getting and where. And honestly, I had the thought that I could get Binky. I think it's Binky, who is this little guy here. He's a little baby raptor. It might be fun. I don't know. But yes, absolutely fantastic. Love this. If you like chill, kind of slice of life manga, especially ones that are a little more, not historical, but informative in tone and pacing, and you just want to read about dinosaurs, this is where you want to go. This is where you want to go. If I had to pick one manga series to keep up with for like so many more years, like that I automatically got the volumes when they came out, it would be that one. That's how much I love that series. That is the last of the physical things that I read. The other 3 books I read were ebooks or another audio. So the other audio I finished today was Archangel's Storm. This is book 5, I think. I think it's book 5 in the Guild Hunters series. This one is about Jason, who is Raphael's spy master, and he is the like dark-winged shadow-wielding angel. He has been very silent and broody in previous books. We don't know a lot about him besides that he is from somewhere down in the Hawaiian Islands. One of those little places, possibly. That's where it felt like she was pointing out, but she's never actually super specific on where some of these people are from. So who knows? I didn't look it up. I probably should have, but he is very cool. I have always liked Jason, so I was excited to see his story. And he falls in love with a princess. I'm not going to say any more than that, because if I tell you more than that, if you are reading the series, it is a spoiler. It's a spoiler for some people who are moving and shaking in the background of all of these books. And this one also had the small additions of we see Honor and Dimitri a little bit more, and Dimitri is Raphael's right-hand man, and Honor is the woman he met and fell in love with in the 4th book. We see the development of their relationship from their happily ever after to some of the choices that Honor made, how those develop out in this one. So this felt a little bit less like a completed story, like a one-off for Jason, and more of a bridge book between the end of the arc with Neha's daughter and Lejuan into a new arc, which I think has more to do with Lejuan and her undead and everything like that. This felt a little bit like a bridge book. Having said that, loved it. Had a blast. I absolutely love these. They are fantastic to listen to. They are super interesting. Nalini Singh always does a really good job with her meta plot in this. We get a relationship, we get a romance, but there is also a really interesting meta plot going on, especially in this one with the politics of Neha's court and everything going on there. It's setting up players for a bigger conflict coming, and I cannot wait to get to that. I peeked at the summary of the next one, which is Archangel's Legion, and I believe we go back to Raphael and Elena while they deal with a big event happening. So I'm excited. I think that's going to either like build or maybe kick off a new big conflict for this little arc. So we'll see what happens. I liked this one. If you're reading the series, again, continue on. We got just a teeny bit more of Raphael 7. So that was nice, but we really focused in on Jason and his princess and Honor and Dimitri. So if you're reading the series, keep going. I liked this one a lot. Again, audiobooks are fantastic. And finally, the last 2 I read. The first was a cozy fantasy called Guard in the Garden. I had to make sure for some reason my brain shorted out on that first word. Guard in the Garden by Z.S. Diamante. And this, my southern is coming out. This is about a dwarven, it's not a griffin rider, it's a type of like cat bird. I think they called him a gravhawk. He is in this elite unit. He rides this gravhawk, and at the beginning of the book, he's in a war. He's in a war situation. He's in a battle, and something bad happens. His mount is lost, and he is wounded in his leg. He requires a cane to walk. It's not healing as quickly as he wants, and the story is about him coming back from that. He spent his entire life finding a way to serve but as a fighter, he wanted to be in the military. And he spends the entire first part of the book, you kind of live with him as he deals with the fact that he cannot fight anymore. He has to use a cane to walk, and he has to learn to adapt to civilian life. He takes a post with the city guard, and he is assigned to this very cozy, quaint little quarter, and that happens to also be where he is living with his aunts. And it's just his finding his purpose, finding his way to serve in his role, finding his place where he can find happiness, a way to find joy even in this calm, peaceful time, this area. And I really enjoyed a lot of what this had in it. There were points where I didn't quite click with the writing, so it felt a little odd, but the story, the characters, and a lot of the things he was saying in the text with this story, I greatly enjoyed. One that sticks out to me early on in the book, he takes a wagon ride from a halfling, and the halfling is very outgoing, charismatic, he's friendly. And somebody, I don't remember if it was our main character or somebody, says something about him being very kind, and he says, Halfling says, it's not so much kindness as I am just grateful for everything that I have in life, and I guess that overflows and seems like kindness, but I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to be here and to have my family and to meet new friends and to do what I do, and that whole idea of living with gratitude in your heart. I don't know. It stuck to me. So I liked this. I also appreciated this because the author himself is also a veteran, and he really uses this to talk about his experience acclimating to civilian life. And I just really enjoyed this. It was very sweet and wholesome, and I do recommend it. Having read this, I am definitely going to try and prioritize his fantasy series, which I have, I think, all of them in print format. So hopefully I'll get to those soon. I liked this. I do recommend it. It just came out last month. It's on KU, so give it a shot if you would like. There is a slight romance in it, nothing too heavy. It's much like Legends and Lattes in that way. There is romance. You see it happening, but it doesn't take away from the plot in any way. And the last thing that I finished yesterday was an e-arc called Chasing Evil, and this is by Robert Hilland and John Edward. This is a nonfiction book. Robert Hilland was an FBI agent who was working quite a few cases and came upon John Edwards, who is a psychic. This is their collaboration over the years, how they worked together to solve cases, and they worked on one big larger case about a serial killer who targeted women. This was, let's say this, I absolutely ate this up. I picked it up at random one night. I wasn't paying attention. This doesn't come out till September, by the way. I wasn't paying attention to street date. I was just like, oh, look at this. I think what had happened was I checked my NetGalley one day, and NetGalley, if you don't know, that is where most e-arcs that I have come from. And on the dashboard towards the bottom where it lists your favorite publisher, it will pick a random book from your shelf and it will say, what did you think about this one? This one was listed one day when I checked, and I was like, oh, that due date must be coming up. That book must be coming out soon. So I picked it up one night. It doesn't come out soon. It comes out in September. Lies. But this read quickly. The author really imbues in his writing this sense of urgency almost. There is a paciness to this that you just eat it up. There's a tension in it. It's not too much, but it is just enough to keep you turning the pages. And it talks about how he starts out as a cynic. He doesn't believe in John Edwards and his psychic abilities at all, but one of his partners at one time convinces him to go see John, and John gives him some information that he shouldn't have had, and he helped him solve a case, and the two become best friends. And it is basically that, how he works different cases and how eventually John will call or attempt to help in any way. And sometimes he really does help. Sometimes the help is not, he doesn't get anything from it at the moment, but then he sees later how it might have helped him in that moment, or it made sense. So I enjoyed it. I really did. It was a really fun read. Do I believe in psychics of this type that John Edwards is? I don't know what to think. I make no judgment. I don't know. Did I find this book fascinating? Oh, incredibly so. Do I think that Robert Hilland totally believes in psychics? Yes, he does. That's okay. That's his ball to juggle. Again, I don't really know what I think yet. I do know that he helped him a lot. Mr. Edwards helped him a lot. And I liked the book, the story, and everything he told, and I'm glad of the work he did. It's also interesting in that Robert Hilland was in the FBI building that the second tower on its collapse during 9/11 landed on. So he does give some firsthand accounts of what that was like being in that building, how they used a light to try and drag survivors who had survived the collapse and the attacks into the building to safety. He worked at Ground Zero for some time, talked about that a little bit. It was heartbreaking, but he did touch on it. So if you don't like reading about 9/11 or survivor accounts or anything, if that's upsetting, I don't recommend it. There was a scene where he's talking about when after the first airplane hit, there were people jumping just to get away from the fires. They jumped instead of burning. He talked about the sounds and stuff, and that was hard to read, but so it was interesting. I do recommend it. If you like nonfiction, if you like true crime, and if you are open to reading about a psychic helping an FBI agent, I say give it a shot. It's very interesting in how he talks about, and I have mentioned this before, I'm very interested in how interrogation techniques work and how people can talk you around to what they want you to say. And he talks about that in this. So, interesting book, fascinating topic. Do I necessarily believe 100% what he believes and presents? I don't know yet. I don't know. But I enjoyed the story he told. I enjoyed reading what it was. So there's that. What I am currently reading. So I know last week I said I'll finish The Witch of Whispervale by R.A. Salvatore. I did not. I read a little bit more and then I put it down and got distracted. I will say this book. So the first book I think you can totally read without having read the previous Demon Wars saga. I totally think you can read it. 100%, 100%. There's only a few things it mentions and talks about that relate to the Demon Wars saga. I mean, it's set in the same world and it takes place like 30 years after that, but I think you can read it without. This one, however, we're getting a lot more references and characters from the Demon Wars saga. Now, I read the Demon Wars saga when I was perhaps 10 or 11. My reading level has always been high. So it's been over 20 years since I have read the Demon Wars saga, because spoilers, I'm pushing 40. So it's been a hell of a long time since I read the books that came before these. This is just convincing me that I definitely, because I was thinking about it and I wasn't sure, but I definitely need to reread the Demon Wars saga books, all 6 of them. I don't know if I can get to all 6 of them before the next one of those comes out, but I'm going to pick them up. I have the first one in its new reprint, and they've all been reprinted with new covers, and they are not trades. Yes, they are trades. They're trade paperbacks. I almost said mass markets. That's not correct. They've got trade paperback editions from Saga Press. So I'm going to try to pick those up and read those because I do really love this world. I love the setting, and I really want to keep up with the series. So there is that for what it is worth. If you plan to read the Buccaneers, the new Demon Wars books, maybe refresh on the original 6 books. I think 6. I'm not entirely sure. So we'll see those coming up hopefully soon. I am also reading Careless People, A Cautionary Tale of Power, Greed, and Lost Idealism by Sarah Wynne Williams. This I started today. I got it yesterday in the mail. This is about the woman who was the manager of global politics and policies, I think, something like that. Hold on, let me find it. I marked it so I would remember. For Facebook from 2009 to I don't know when she left, but she's not there anymore. So I'm very interested. Manager of Global Public Policy. That's it. She effectively created her role. So in 2009, that's before Facebook got super political and all this stuff. She recognized it for the capabilities that it had because she was already working in politics. She was working as a New Zealand diplomat, ambassador of some sort. She basically took 2 years trying to convince them that they needed a manager of this sort at their company, and they begrudgingly hired her for that role, but to do other things because they didn't believe they needed the role. Kind of reckless, and it is her journey with them. The only reason that I know about this book is because there was a court case that Facebook launched against the author to, I think, stop the book from getting published. I need to read up on it, and I will report back next week, or I'll try and link an article in the description box. But I believe what I read was they could not prove anything she had written was false, so instead they just managed to gag her on publicizing and promoting her own book, and instead it has had the Barbara Streisand effect of trying to cover something up and now people are hearing about it more. So that's fun for them, but I am just a little bit into this right there. And I have already sent my husband at least 10 messages of, oh my God, this is ridiculous. It is just confirming what I have long suspected, and that is the people who own Facebook, Meta, all those. Um, it's all about money, it's all about greed, and they really don't care. And maybe not completely in a malicious way, but in a way enough that it becomes malicious. So yeah. Hopefully I'll have it done by next week and I can tell you more then, but I'm enjoying it so far. Again, the writing on that is really pacey and it's engaging, so it's helping. It's not a dry nonfiction. And the book I got last week, which I forgot was coming, was the Liminal Zone Volume 2 by Junji Ito, and this will be read, if not today, tomorrow. Probably tomorrow, if not today, because I have a date day with my husband and we might take some quiet time to read or something. We'll see. But yes, so I forgot this was coming out. I don't think I need to read the first Liminal Zone. It came out last year and I read it when it came out and I really liked it. So I am excited to return to this one with Junji Ito's fantastic art style. So that's going to get read soon. I think that's everything I'm reading now. And what I read, I do want to tell you guys about the arcs that I got because I started doing that one week and I like doing that. So let's see. I turned in a review, two reviews last week, and I have gotten a bunch of emails since then of approvals. So let me look. I was making the list of books that come out in April, because I'm getting ready to film that today. And I saw that Axio has a new book coming out called The Floating World. I absolutely adore the cover on it. It looks like a video game. I got the arc of that. That is I believe a YA or new adult adventure fantasy. I also was approved for Coffee Shop in an Alternate Universe. I believe this is a cozy sapphic romance about a fantastical coffee shop, a geeky overachiever determined to save the world through science, and a troublemaking chosen one lashing out against her destiny meet and fall in love in a magic coffee shop. I think that sounds cute. I love that sort of stuff. Let's see. I also was approved for Adrian Tchaikovsky's new book, Shroud, from Orbit. Orbit and me get along. I feel terrible because I don't always get my reviews in on time, but I love Orbit. It's always been one of my favorite publishers. On a planet shrouded in darkness, a stranded crew must fight for survival, but the darkness may have plans of its own. In this original story from Adrian Tchaikovsky, they looked into the darkness and the darkness looked back. That's so creepy. I love how creepy that is. I got Automatic Noodle. I put that request in months ago, and I just got approved for Automatic Noodle by Annalie Newitz. This is a cozy near-future novella about a crew of leftover robots opening their very own noodle shop. Have you noticed I love cozy books? I read a lot of cozy books, and this seems to be my forte. I was also, today, I got the approval for House of Monstrous Women by Daphne Fama. Now, I requested this when I requested Isabel Kanya's new book, which I haven't gotten an approval on, but I really want to read. I hope they send me an approval. This one, though, is a young woman is drawn into a dangerous game after being invited to the maze-like home of her childhood friend, a rumored witch, in this gothic horror set in the 1986 Philippines. In this game, there is one rule: survive. I don't know if Daphne Fama is a Filipino author, but it looks interesting, so I am excited for that one. And I think there was one more. Let me double check. Ghosts Behind Glass, which is a University of Chicago Press. That is definitely a nonfiction book. I believe that is about extinct species and the exhibits that they use to display them in. And I feel like I am forgetting one book. Yes, here it is. Madam Queen from Harlequin Trade. So this is The Life and Crimes of Harlem's Underground Racketeer Stephanie St. Clair by Mary Kay McBriar. This looks fantastic. An astonishing little-known history of Harlem racketeer Madame Stephanie St. Clair, one of the only female crime bosses and a black self-made businesswoman in early 20th century New York. That sounds great. Comes out in June. I'll actually probably read that sooner rather than later, I think. I have been very much in a nonfiction mood. But that is the arcs that I have gotten this week. The 2 new books I got this week, which were The Careless People and Junji Ito, and everything I've read. So it's been a weird week, but not a bad one, I guess, on retrospection. I don't know. I don't know why it feels like such a weird week. It's just one of those weeks, I guess. Oh well. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And please let me know what your thoughts are if you have read anything I have read. And if you are planning on picking anything up, if you have any really good nonfiction recommendations, please let me know. I will not read anything that has to do with dead children. But I like true crime. I especially love science and nature nonfiction. That is my favorite, but anything like that, because I am really in that mood. So that is it for now. I will talk to you guys again soon. I think my next video will be the April anticipated releases. So until then, thanks so much for watching, y'all. Bye.